Dumas, would you lead us in prayer?
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we come to you once again. We thank you for the opportunity to come before you. We ask that you continue to bless us, to lead us, to guide us, and most of all to direct us in the way in which you would have us to go. We ask that you bless everyone that is here in the sound of my voice, and those that are not present that are interested in the city's well-being. And we ask that you continue to give them the insight, the leadership, give us the leadership, and give them the insight that they might be able to ask questions and us be able to answer them. We also ask and pray for those that are in foreign lands. We ask that you bless them, bring them home as you see fit, and let them come back to America, to a place in which they have fought for and they love so much. Now, as we prepare to go into this particular setting, into this meeting, once again, guide us in the way that you would have us to go. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Attention, salute, pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Ms. Betty Johnson. Mr. Rex McCarthy. Ms. Kay Cup. Present. Mr. John Dumas.
Here.
Mr. Craig Gill. Mayor Jackie Johnson.
Here. We have a special call meeting to introduce our budget to everyone this evening. And the first item on the agenda is the presentation for the financial audit.
Yes, as we discussed last meeting, this is audit for the year ending June 30th, 2013. It's got an opinion page. It's on page 1 and 2. This is a clean opinion, unqualified opinion, and by that, what we're saying is that financial statements that the city of Winnsboro has in their office that they gave to us and that we agreed upon after some adjustments are fairly presented. That's what they mean. It's an unqualified opinion. On page 3 through 7, it's a management discussion or a summary of the audit. And what it shows is that the town has that during the year that the town actually revenues were $308,000 more than its expenses compared to a year ago, at the year ending June 30, 2012, the expenses were $305,000 more than the revenue. So it improved by $613,000. That's what it shows. As I told you last time, you've got $5,516,000 in cash in the bank. Like the year before that, you had $5,460,000 in the bank. So you got more cash. The only debts, other than the long-term debt with the sewer and the streets, were currently due accounts payable. None of them were past due. You're paying all the bills as they occur. That's what we found. Town does have outstanding long-term debt of $4,468,000, and that's going to be paid off over a number of years from now. Then it goes on and on, but in on page 36, 37, and 38 is the budgets compared to the financial statements. The general fund budget, your actual revenues were $18,000 less than your budget. Your budget is $1,071,000. and your actual revenues was $1,053,000. So you're almost right on. The expenditures, you were over $144,000 out of $3 million. So close enough. It was within the variance that the law allows. The industrial grant fund, your actual revenues was almost $26,000 and you budgeted $17,000. So your revenues were more, $8,600 more than you budgeted. Your expenditures were $38,000 more than you budgeted. So that was the industrial grant fund. Sales tax fund, your revenues were $274,000 more than you budgeted. And your expenditures were $45,000 more than you budgeted. So on that one, even though in our findings, yeah, findings show that you spent more than 5% more than your expenditures were budgeted. And that's what the law allows, 5%. You spend more than 5%. But on the other hand, your revenues were even more than that, more than you budgeted. Your revenues were $274,000 more than you budgeted. Expenditures were $45,000 more than the budget. But the law says we have to report that as a finding that you spent more than you budgeted. On that one, should have had an amended budget that took care of that, but you didn't. On the findings, we had two findings. Well, one had two parts. Budget law violation, your budgeted spending in the industrial grant fund and sales tax fund were more than 5%, more than the budget. So that's a violation of the law. The audit report was filed late. It was due December 31st, and we had real good reasons why it wasn't filed on time. If you'd like for me to, Mayor, I'll tell them what that was. And I'll tell them one of the reasons. That was the big one was that one of the things we have to do is we get in writing from the bank how much money you have in the bank. We don't take the clerk's word for it. We have to get it in writing from the bank. We absolutely got lost in figuring out how much money was in the bank. You had one bank that we thought there was none there, but it turned out there was $1 million there. But the town knew that it was there, but for some reason I thought there was none there. But the other bank, the town had not filled out the proper paperwork for the town to tell me how much money was in the bank. So I was just having all kind of problems. They wouldn't tell me, and they were complying with their laws. The FDIC would not let them tell me, and the reason, I just finally gave up. So I went to the mayor and I said, they will not tell me how much money's in the bank. That's about what we told him. So he goes to the bank and found out that the board had never authorized, had not passed proper ordinances that he was mayor. And they had nothing that would allow them to even tell him how much money was in the bank. So this rocked along that you had to come back to this board, get a I don't know if it was an ordinance or resolution or what it was, passed for them to give you the authority to find out how much money was in the bank. Wasn't that right, Mayor, about what it amounted to? So then, by the time you got all that done, then I had authority to go to the bank and find out how much money it was. So I would go to the bank with the letter and find out how much money is in the bank, and it's $1 million different. But the $1 million was over at the other bank that I thought there was none. So that just blew everything from the time standpoint. But we couldn't give an audit opinion if we weren't sure there was $500,000 in the bank. But you got all that straight. That's the findings. Now, also in our report is a report on the prior year findings and on what the town has done about it. And there were 3 of them. 2 of them have been cleared up. That would be the internal control of rental income from the community center. The other one was a couple of years ago, the legislative auditor came in and did what they call an advisory audit, in which they named a lot of small things that had to be corrected. And the last time we did the audit, they still weren't all corrected, but we're satisfied they're all corrected now. The other thing was the budget law, and there was a budget law violation in the general fund 2 years ago, and that had to be corrected. Okay, question? That's all I have for the report.
Thank you, Mr. Miles. Anyone have any questions? Anyone want to address Mr. Miles before we move on?
I guess I do, if I may.
Sure.
Under the findings on page 46, for instance, the number 1 and 2, for instance, it says that, it states here that it's been corrected, but have these people, we've not seen a correction. We've got 10 different transactions, so to speak, that occurred with this particular building, and people renting it, deposits that were to be, it's all written. You wrote it, so you know what it says. But have we fixed it? How?
I didn't mean those have been corrected. That water over the bridge, there's nothing you can do about that. What I meant what was corrected was the internal control, taking it out of the mayor's office, putting it over at the utility fund, a utility department, and they collect the money. And they hadn't been doing that long enough for us to, track a real history of it, because what we audited was up to June 30th, 2013. Well, when we had these findings, we were auditing up through, actually we were here up through December of 2000. So we only had 6 months. We didn't have very long, it wasn't very long to see how it would work. So we could tell.
Wasn't it an entire year? Excuse me.
Go ahead.
What was it wasn't it an entire year? There were some findings.
Yeah, there were.
The previous year, and I think you guys just had 6 months that year. And then we were gonna fix those things, and yet there was a full year for this report, correct?
Yeah, I've got them right here. There were, but what our reports say, or what our recommendation was, that you correct the internal control, which you did. But is it working yet or not? You only had, once you made that change in about January of 2013, it was only 6 months.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, half the year was gone. So I couldn't criticize them. Somebody already criticized them for the first 6 months. The first 6 months of the year ending June 30th, 2013.
Okay.
I don't know if you follow what I'm saying.
Not quite.
But once we made the recommendation in, I think I met with this council in December of 2013. Y'all made the change in probably January. So you only had 5 or 6 months in which to, carry out the new change.
All right.
Now, I want to correct one thing, though. I think you forgot. This is not the first time we've talked about it. As a matter of fact, this is the 3rd time. In December, y'all were making an impression, I think, last time that you were not given opportunity to talk about these things. So what I suggested at that board meeting in December of 2013 was that I could have a meeting with two of y'all, no more than two, and we discuss it in great detail. Mr. Dumas called me, set up the meeting, and we had it in the mayor's office. There's 4 people in this room were at the meeting, including you. Mr. Dumas wasn't there, but we already discussed it. About an hour and a half. Don't you remember that meeting?
In 2013?
December of 2013. We went over this in great detail. The clerk was there, and the mayor was there, and I was there, and you were there. We've already, it wasn't that we left y'all out. We already had the discussion.
About this report?
No.
Okay.
The
About
report.
that.
Right, right. And these 10
I do
findings.
recall that, yes.
Can I say something just for the sake of clarification?
Yeah.
I think what you're referring to is internal controls. In the previous year, there was no system in place. So what they've done now and what he's seeing in his audit, from what I understand, is that now there's a unwritten operational procedure where they are to turn in money to City Hall at the counter only. I think it was checks, no cash, and a contract must accompany it.
Okay.
You know, that is the procedure I think that you're seeing in place now. And then there's a deposit that matches that. And that was not in place beforehand.
Okay. Since you mentioned procedure, I'll ask this again on the same page, the second finding, budget law violation. Will we hear from the legislative auditors about recommendations and policies and procedures to be adopted?
The mayor will get a letter probably soon, and they'll ask you what you're going to do about it.
Okay.
And that the violation wasn't that big.
Sure.
Now, go back to these 10 things that I said. I'm not an investigator.
Right.
The way this works is I do the audit and I report it to the legislative auditor. And he gets a lot of reports. And what I've heard, they more or less sit around a table every month or every week or something, and they decide which ones they can investigate, which ones are big enough, and which parish they hadn't been in lately, and all kinds of things. And what I'm getting is they can't investigate all of them.
Right.
And for instance, what I've heard, they don't have just batteries of people, and they probably wouldn't come and investigate in 1 year. City of Winnsboro, the Franklin Parish Police Bureau, and the school board, they would be putting too much emphasis in one parish that was spreading around. So anyway, when we give them these findings, they're the investigators, but they don't investigate all of them. Whatever they can get to, whatever they think's important, that's how they do it. But they will write the town. And of course, the budget is the budget approved by the town council. Y'all got to come up with a system in which you can follow it. And you had a transition this year with a new clerk, and they got here late in the year. They did the best they could, and probably wasn't as good as. It's a whole lot better now than it was when they got here. I sure I'll say that. They're doing fine. Yes, sir.
You mentioned that there were only 2 individuals that you could meet with at a time.
Two board members.
2 board members. Are you referring to the Sunshine Law?
Yes.
Then, if the Sunshine Law prohibits, and it does, 2 from meeting, why couldn't we have had a regular call meeting like we're having now? And all of the council and members would be able to be present at that particular time. Why wasn't that suggested in order to do a comprehensive completion of the audit?
I'm not the one to call the meeting.
Thank you. That's my point. That's what I wanted to know. So I know where they came from.
Yeah.
But I don't see the law in that.
You could have a meeting anytime, as long as it's published and have everybody there
That's
like
exactly
tonight. But I can't meet in private with but two.
Well, we didn't, that was the point. We didn't ask to meet you in private to
No, you didn't.
to discuss a public matter. We didn't ask that. We asked to have a meeting to discuss the findings for those that were interested, including the council. Therefore, the sunshine law should not have been applicable to this particular case.
Oh, I could have met with the board, but wait a minute, I said something wrong. I said two, y'all have, I mean, board members.
5.
You're right, okay.
You're right, too.
We could have met at any time as long as you published it.
Exactly.
Public.
But like you just said, it wasn't your decision to do that. We understand. And
No.
apparently the one that called the meeting was the one that made that determination that that was the way it was going to be.
But we had a meeting, and that was a long time ago. But I know at least 4 of us are there. You may have been there too. That was right. And you were supposed to be there, but I think you just forgot about it, or out of town or something. But we had a good meeting. I thought it was a good meeting. But you could have expanded it and doing what we're doing tonight. Anyway, that's, I think that, let me say one other thing. I know y'all were wondering why you didn't get your report quicker, and the legislative auditor published it before you got it. They hardly ever publish those reports as quick as they did that one. And they review them and they just put it out there real fast. They do it every Friday, every Monday. But I had made arrangements for the town to come. I couldn't get away from the office to come pick them up, and somehow they just never got picked up. And I'm sorry it happened, but we were trying to get them here, and y'all were supposed to send a police officer or something the Friday before, and anyway, it just didn't get done. But anyway, that's what happened. We never dreamed the legislative auditor would publish them that quickly, but they got to this one fast. But they look at every page. Let me tell you, we got anything that they see wrong, any word misspelled, they send them back. They don't publish them until after they've done that. Anyway, that's all I've got to say.
Thank you, Mr.
I
Thomas.
do have one other thing. So this was for the legislative auditor and the federal government, a single audit. And we have not submitted the one to the federal government yet, because I always wait to the last minute in case there's a change. And this one, I can get it back from the legislative auditor, but I can't get it back from the federal government. So I'll make darn sure that this is the final one before I send it to them. And anyway, but in this case, if you have over $500,000 expenditures in federal funds, you have to do a federal audit also. And that's what we did.
Thank you, Mr. Hopkins. Item number 2, Resolution 14-0301. Resolution to amend the budget for the purchasing of installations for the animal control facility.
Mayor, we met the other day with the Finance Committee, and we're having a problem over on Baldwin Drive with the mail. They're refusing to deliver mail because there's a group of 5 dogs, stray dogs that's roaming that neighborhood. And our pens right now, we have, at the time I think we had two pens that was available. So we was looking at an intern building an intern pen shelter to house those animals. And we talked about that in the meeting right there. We wanted to look at to see how much that was going to cost. What we looked at was building a facility that was going to house 6 pens. And what we wanted to do was, even though our ordinance, which we talked about in that meeting, calls for 5 days for those animals. We're not a shelter, basically. We house those animals for 5 days and we move them out. But we didn't have Ms. Kim Harbaugh with the work that we done done from the black eye that the city received from the shelter we had, from the pound that we had in previous years. So we have kind of upgraded that, and she has done a great job. What we're looking at now is building that facility to house those 6 dogs and to building enough concrete space where we can house up to 12 pens. Even though we're putting 6 pens there, but just in case we have another future problem, who say they won't happen in another part of the city, because it seems like the more we create one space, the more dogs that comes into the city. So what we're doing is kind of expanding that out to say, well, if this problem continues to happen, and it doesn't cease, well, we will have enough room to come in there and just buy 6 more pens without having to build the concrete slabs. Until we can get with Ms. Harbaugh. Ms. Harbaugh has explained that she has raised a number of dollars, and we have talked about also working together with trying to fix this problem. One of the deals that we talked about in the meeting was we need to change the ordinance so we'll be in compliance with the law. Right now, we're not in compliance with the law because we're supposed to house in 5 days, even though we don't want to kill animals. So what we need to look at, one of the things we talked about, was coming up with a 30-day plan, 5 days in the shelter, and we create what we call a halfway house. And that halfway house is going to be the halfway point between those animals being adopted and from them being taken to Monroe where they're euthanized. And we're trying to stop from doing that. So we house them in the pen for 5 days. After that 5 days, we're moving to what we say the halfway house, which will give Ms. Harbaugh 25 more extra days to try to get these animals fostered or somebody come in and adopt them. And again, that will be freeing up our pens that we got, the ones we had in our ordinance for 5 days, giving the humane officer room enough to still pick up the stray animals that still roam the streets of Winnsboro. So what we're looking at right now is building the space right now, the house, to put 6 pens, but with the available space to house another 6, which will give a total of 12. And amend the budget to free up those funds for some door. What we looked at was in the proximity, Mr. Skipper, what was the final price that we had on this project right here for those 6 pens?
For those 6 pens, without a tile, we're looking at about $10,000.
$10,000. So we're looking at amending the budget for $10,000 to expand that internal facility right there, which will house 6 dogs, but it will have the available space to house up to 12. Until we can amend the budget, amend the ordinance with those 30 days to create that, what we call that halfway facility, to give her time enough again to save these animals. Because it seems like the more that space we create, the more dogs show up in the streets of Winnsboro.
You put that in a motion?
I make a motion.
I'll second it.
Well, discussion. Well, you have discussion on this? Or have you already had?
After the second, we'll discuss it. After the second motion, we can discuss it, she just did.
Okay.
So now you discuss, huh?
You second.
Is there a discussion?
Yes.
We'll entertain this discussion.
You mentioned the halfway house. How many animals then would be housed in the halfway house?
We're looking at right now the possibility for right now for us that will give us up to 12. We got 6 pens, we can have another 6. Ms. Harbaugh says she has, if I believe, what is Ms. Case? She had about $20,000 that she had raised. And again, we try to build a permanent facility, but we was getting the groundwork already set to kind of integrate all that into play.
So in other words, these 6 or 12 pens that 6 that are in existence and the other 6 that you propose make up the halfway house. Is
Yes,
that
sir,
what you're
for
saying?
right now, so
Okay.
yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Then, okay, I see what you're saying. But if we're talking about 12 animals, then later on down the line, there's going to be more. Then we're going to have to find even another alternative to that. Now, while we may be amending the ordinance to reflect these 12, our future problem is going to increase, and we're going to have to do something. And a lot of these animals, once again, are coming from outside of the city. True. So we're going to have to find sources. and resources that will assist us and help us to probably go further than 12 pens.
Correct,
In the
definitely.
future, in the very near future, because I've noticed that in our area, I've seen a couple of female dogs that are heavy with puppies. And as these dogs begin to have their litters and those litters begin to spread, we're gonna have some problems. So, you know, the three dogs that I saw can fill these pens. I have no problem with what we're talking about doing here. I concur with this proposal, but we've got to look at something that's going to be in a larger magnitude.
And that's the what Ms. Kim was saying with that money that she has. But we need to sit down and come up with a plan how that we're gonna use that money in the building, type of building to build. We have the room up there to expand up there to do that, but we need to come up with a plan of action how we're gonna do it.
And we were amending the ordinance to keep them from 5 days to 30 days.
Yes, sir. 5 in the regular setting, and 25 in the half.
We have we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
I vote for it.
Yep.
I vote for it.
Okay. Let the record reflect that it was unanimously approved. Resolution number 14-0302. Resolution to continue the next phase of the airport.
The state project number H010049, rehabilitate the airfield lighting at the Winnsboro Municipal Airport.
This is pretty well what we've been talking about for months.
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
I make that motion.
I second it.
Been properly moved and second. All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Let the record reflect that it's unanimously approved. Resolution number 140303. Resolution to amend budget for the purchasing of video audio surveillance for Jack Hammond Community Center.
Mayor, we discussed this in the Finance Committee meeting on last week, and we had a couple quotes from a couple different businesses. And this quote here that we looked at, we've been talking about security in the Jack Hammond Community Center for quite some time now. And with these cameras right here, these cameras here had the video plus the audio that we looked at with Chase Electronics. And so we said if something happens, if we're having something here in the conference room, somebody threatened somebody, but we had the audio also as well as the video. And we thought it was a plus to have that. It was a cheaper one just to have pure video. That was a cheaper price, but we thought as a committee that the best one we should go with would be the audio plus the video. And that price right there was $8,638.89.
And it gives you 15 cameras as compared to 8 cameras. On the,
I also see some $7,000 figures in here. What is
that's the second quote. Like I said, I think it only has 8 cameras and no audio. The higher quote for 8,000 plus has 15 cameras and full audio.
Didn't you have to add the 3,400 to the 7,000 to make it over 10,000 to make this system be comparable to this system?
And it's still not quite as good. Your best overall is the 8,000. You're gonna get more for your money and cover our needs. Which also offers equipment that protects the equipment that we're buying. Lock boxes and that sort of thing.
Is this, well, I don't mean reputable source, but all good things ain't cheap and all cheap things ain't good.
Well,
But
I think-
what I'm saying, that's a big difference. And even with the amount of cameras you're talking about, there's quite a bit. And I guess, do you have some history or experience on this guy as far as?
With the 8,000? Yes, sir. He does, he does a lot of business with the city as far as all of the police department's business, anything related to our radios, the city hall. He set up the monitoring there. So he's very good with his service, and you guys can speak to his equipment. It seems to be fine, right? There are no issues yet.
Oh, I have no issue with that.
The
He does a great job.
the quote that included the additional $3,400, that was used under the state contract, and it was really, top of the line equipment. But, and what Mr. Chase has is also considered, top of the line equipment. This was one of the reasons that I think that the committee elected to go,
What's his logo?
and he's local.
So the committee's recommendation is Mr. Chase, so that, that's what you're saying.
And he's right here for servicing. He can be here, he's in Basket. Now, here's the thing that I'd like for y'all to know about the funding for this. You can see we're only asking for $1,000. That is because we had $5,000 originally set aside for the capital outlay for this building. We can utilize that. And then when I look at the expenses that we've had year to date, we've done very well compared to what we expected. So when I average it out, I can cover the cost of this building, unless there's something unforeseen, of course, through the end of the fiscal year, plus give about $2,000 to this camera project. So we really only need to amend for $1,000. So we're asking to do that rather than amending for $8,000, because I feel like the money is already set aside for community center in the budget. We can afford $7 of it, bottom line, in the present budget.
Well, I move to accept the recommendation of the committee by using Chase Electronics and adoption of resolution 14-0403.
Properly moved and second. All in favor, say aye. I'll motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Oh, wait.
Been properly
So
moved.
not moved.
So not moved. Mayor, I received a phone call yesterday afternoon from Mr. McCarthy that caused me to do some questioning. As you can see, we have Lauren's here with us tonight. Ms. Loring has, my understanding, has went to City Hall and tried to pay the other $25 that she owes. She has been told that she don't owe the $25, and because she doesn't have a contract, that they can't take her money. Ms. Loring has provided me with text messages to say that since this money has been found in a desk drawer in an envelope, the contract was attached to it at that time, and we just need, and now Ms. McCarthy is telling her that she can't use the proper stuff in the ceiling to hang her decorations. She was told in the beginning that she could do the ceiling, but she cannot now. She's already ordered all of her decorations. I think we're doing this lady a big injustice, and I would like us as a group to give Ms. Loring the assurances that her event is gonna take place, that she can decorate according to the decorations that she's bought, and that her money has been paid in full. And I would like us to go on the record as saying these things to her as a body. And I would also like to know where that contract is
I
once
think we're
there.
gonna have to first amend the budget, amend the.
Agenda. Okay. I would make a motion that we amend the agenda to discuss Ms. Loring's contract.
Amend the special meeting.
Second.
You can amend the agenda.
Special meeting.
Who second?
Yep.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye. Record reflect that unanimously.
Mayor, on the, when we first did that, the contract, Mr. Mahoney had a list of recommendations that Mr. Dumas brought over when we first sat in that first meeting. One of the recommendations that we put here was that certain things that could not be placed in this building. We said hot glue guns from putting stuff on the wall. We said stuff from the ceiling and stuff placed on the floor. So when Ms. McCarthy told Ms. Loring that was, she was referring to that was in the contract. Now, I don't know how she was told, if she was told when she first signed the first contract that she could do that, that was out of compliance. Because nobody, any event here, they know that they cannot, anything that's going to damage, because those things, especially in the ceiling tiles and on the floor, but that's one of the things that Mr. Mahoney, one of the things that he spec'd out. We talked about the kitchen. We said you could heat up food, but you couldn't cook food. It's one equipped to do that. So when she referred to that, she was referring to that was in the contract.
But yet, when we had an event here and the front wall out there was damaged, we told her, oh, that's okay, we'll give you your deposit back.
But that was,
And what Ms. Loring is talking about, Ms. Loring, can you help me here? What exactly are you wanting to put from the ceilings? Can you?
It's just tax to bring to, and the ceiling is already like holy, like you wouldn't even be able to tell.
She's not asking to damage anything, she just added phone tax.
what is the weight of the curtain? What is the weight?
It's like,
Like this.
Okay, twist. Still, good doctor. That was talking about getting those stuff.
Is it in the contract that says?
Yes, ma'am.
Do y'all have one of those, like?
That was an old contract.
That was an old country. We don't have one here. What is wrong?
Let me ask you this, if you were to, that ceiling tile has a frame that it sets in, and if you were to use, it's like a hook, it's a little thing that just, when you raise the tile up, set it on that, and then set the tool on the hook, can you, and it would hold that in place, can you use that?
It'll hold, because the way I'm doing it, it's like a paper,
Yeah.
it's like a paper bale.
Right.
That they sell at Walmart, it's paper.
Mm.
And it'll just hook to the bale, and it's paper, it's no weight to it.
No way to it. And you even wouldn't have to stick anything into the tile. You just raise the tile up, put it on the frames, run it along the frame, and then set it back down. You would never know it. And there's those little hooks like they use at Christmas, to tell you the truth, and it wouldn't damage anything. See, there wouldn't be no movement other than just raising the corner of the tile up and setting it in there, and it'll hold that little stuff, in place. Can you substitute that instead of the tax or whatever? Okay.
So when she was complying with, that was she was complying with. That was done, that was by one of the former councilmen. He wanted that in there, and that's what we implied in it. And no, that kind of stuff right there, removing the damage to the building, that was in there.
I mean, that's fine, it's just the fact that when I first purchased the building,
But you
I
was
was
told
told that I could. That was way back in
Okay.
June, where all my stuff is paid for. I can't return it.
Okay, so as a body, we need to reassure Ms. Lori that although she hasn't paid all of her money has been paid, that she's not gonna have any repercussions from it, and that her event will go on as planned.
That assurance, Ms. Lauren, I think has been given to you. We knew that, we know the situation that's going on, and I apologize for that. But your date on your deal, on your wedding, on that deal, is set in stone.
No, the question was, if I was to put a tool in, my event would be shut down.
That was one of the deals she was going by because that was in the contract. If you, something that was prohibited. And that was, like you said before, that was in there. But I don't understand why you was told that previous. But that was in there. You couldn't do that. So anything we got that is prohibited in here, that you do that with a violation on that deal, you do stand a risk having your event shut down. You do. And so she was
She
just
doesn't
covered.
have her old contract to know what she can and can't do. She only has what the things she can't do according to what Ms. McCarthy is telling her now as far as our new things are concerned. Our new rules she knows because Mr. McCarthy is telling her. But to have assurances that she doesn't break any of the old rules, she don't have her contract.
So that's something that we can adjust. We adjust that like Mr. Dumas is speaking about right now and giving her that authority. We can amend that and let that happen. She use those hooks. And then that's something, let Ms. McCollum know on that, and we can adjust that. And that's something we can look at maybe adjusting in the future. But that was putting it for not damaging the building. That glue gun and no stuff like that, when you was taking that decoration down of damaging the building, that's the reason it was put in there.
But I still am not getting an answer as of where is this contract that she, on the first correspondence between her and the city, she has a text message. I have a copy of that text message that says the money and the contract were found in an envelope. Now, where is that contract? That's it? Got it.
No, I believe.
But we believe that, I don't need to see it.
There you go. I don't have it in there, but.
But Ms. Lauren is showing your event will go on. We know that situation. Yeah, I wish you a happy marriage, but like, so your event will go on as planned. So it's in. So you have, you have no doubt on that. You have the building, and you have the authority now to put your hooks, your deals, and send the declaration. And we apologize for that situation.
I just want her to be assured that her event's gonna go through without complication. And that she doesn't have to stand a risk of having to lose her deposits and stuff because of things she don't know about, things she can't find in a piece of paper.
I want you to stop worrying about it too. I want you to rest your mind.
Ms. McCarthy said,
They want to see the
you
state.
could go on with your wedding. As
That one, y'all
you
want to see
planned it. We need to do something before another person wants to rent this building about that also.
I guess we can go and put in there, depending on what they're trying to hang up, what they're trying to put up.
Yep.
May I say something?
Yes, ma'am.
Mayor? Mayor, you have the floor.
When I was doing the Civic Center, I just want to cover my behind. When I was doing the Civic Center, I never saw her contract. It was never given to me. Her money was never given to me because I didn't take money. So I just want to make sure that everyone knows that, because I think she signed it in June. I came on in September. Every bit of paperwork that was given to me, I never saw it. Because I've known her since elementary. I would have known that I had her contract. So I didn't have her contract. I just want to make sure y'all knew that. or her money.
Thank you.
Okay.
Julia, you've spoken with Miss, well, I'm out of order. Mayor, may I speak?
Yes.
You spoke to Miss Loring in reference to the subject matter on the receipt for the 25.
Yes, sir.
You have made up, or y'all have come to a conclusion or come to an agreement as to how you will handle that?
Yes, sir. When Miss Brittany came to see me yesterday, we sit down and we talk, and then I asked the mayor to come sit in that meeting as well. And what I told Miss Brittany, that we don't have it. We don't have a contract. But however, the money is in City Hall. And I can't, she don't want to sign a new contract because she still feels that she signed one. It's not her fault that it was misplaced.
Right.
So I told her we're not going to force her to sign one, but I asked the mayor and I asked Miss Brittany, would she feel comfortable if I typed up a letter or a statement saying that she previously signed a contract and that she paid the $450 and she had that $550, I'm sorry, and she had that $25, so that I can, for our records and the ladies in City Hall records, to cover us, to issue her some receipts and to reassure her that her dates are locked and everything is covered.
Okay, and that agreement was,
That was yesterday. And like I said, I tried to call her yesterday, but I was down the wrong number. Obviously, I couldn't get her. So I did get her the right number from Alice, and I called her today, and she told me that she would come in when she got off work. And I would let her read that statement, and if she agreed with it, to then sign it so that I could go ahead and post her money, have her money posted, and secure everything. I mean, that's just the way I could try to fix it on our behalf in the City Hall, and we can go ahead and post it.
right. Then if this agreement is read by Ms. Loring and agreed upon by Ms. Loring, and she signs it, does the council have any questions in reference to that particular article being handled and business being handled in that manner?
Now, it doesn't outline any stipulations that the contract does. It simply says that we have her money and her date is secure.
And she has a receipt, in other
And she
words.
can-
And he has a receipt for it.
Right.
It doesn't outline what can happen in the building or anything like that.
And Ms. Loring, another thing I want to say that when Ms. McCarthy was approaching you with that, one thing that we came out to find, when we came out to the community center committee meeting, when we changed the rules and regulations here because we was having some issues. One of the things that I wanted, and we both agreed on, me and Ms. Cup agreed on, was everything that was pending, that you meet with those individuals and go over the new rules and regulations, what you can and what you cannot do, because that will get you shut out. And so when you can't say, well, I didn't know that, I didn't know this. And so that was the push was, because I told Ms. Cup yesterday, I said, even if we had that old contract, you still would have been going through this here. Because that's one of the things that we said after that, with every entity, even though yours was different because you got a wedding reception. That's different from a party or whatever was throwing or some type of gathering. That was different. But still, again, with every entity, it's going to go over what the do's and don'ts. Because yours will refer to you with the alcohol, and you had alcohol here. Also with the smoking, and we still refer with you, and we're going to go over that with you. And so that was the push, wasn't the push to resign another contract, but to go over that you've been covered, to do what those new do's and don'ts are.
But she didn't tell me like that. She said that she needed a contract. That's how she was telling me, that she needed another contract, and she said it was for auditing purposes. She wasn't putting it the way you said it.
So we're telling Ms. Loring that she can have her event, she can use the little hooks for the ceiling, but since she does not have a copy of her contract, that none of the rules that would be in that contract apply to her because she can't see what those rules are.
Well, the alcohol still.
Well, the alcohol, the new stuff that we would have, she would understand.
Okay.
But the old
The only thing was
stuff
giving
wouldn't
the
apply.
Permission to do that, so you shouldn't be given that permission to hang those deals from the ceiling.
Okay.
So, the contract.
Ms. McCarthy, on behalf of the city of Winnsboro, I apologize to you for the inconvenience that you may have suffered. Ms. Loring, I'm sorry. I apologize for any inconvenience that you might have suffered as a result of this. Please accept my apologies.
And ours too. Now you can make the
I
motion.
move we adjourn.
Proper move. We are adjourned.